We're good. At this time, I'll call the June 1st, 2022 York County Special Called Meeting to order. First item is council to hold a public hearing on ordinance to establish operating and capital budgets for the operation of the county government of York County for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2022, to provide for the levy of taxes for York County for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2022, to provide for the expenditure of tax revenues and other county funds, and to provide for other fiscal matters relating to county government. At this time, we open this up for public input and invite anyone to come forward to the podium if you would like to speak. If you would just please state your name and give your address before you start your comments. Nobody wants to speak?
Good evening.
How are you?
Good. How are you all?
Doing good.
It's good to see you all. I'm back again. This is my second year. My name is Adrienne Woods. I'm the Executive Director of Safe Passage, and I am here to talk a little bit about Safe Passage and the impact that not only Safe Passage has made, but County Council has made as well. Last year, I came before you all, and because of your generosity, we were able to conduct 358 forensic interviews. We provided emergency shelter to 73 individuals, adults and children, for a total of 1,147 nights. That's in our emergency domestic violence shelter. We assisted 83 sexual assault victims, responded to 138 sexual assault crisis calls, responded to 811 domestic violence crisis calls. And in addition, we provided advocacy, education, and counseling to 553 domestic violence victims. Those numbers are astounding once you think about it. We assisted over 1,000 people last year in 2021. So the issues of domestic violence and sexual assault and child abuse are not decreasing. And we know with the economic challenges we're all facing, we expect those to increase. They're not gonna go away. In South Carolina, it's reported that 42.3% of women and 29.2% of men will experience intimate partner physical, intimate partner sexual violence, or intimate partner stalking within their lifetime. 42.3% of women. So someone in this room will have experienced some of that. And a man in this room will have experienced it as well. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men in the U.S. have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. 1 in 3 and 1 in 4. So it's not just a female issue, it's a community issue. It is a community issue. As you may recall, last year I mentioned the decrease in Victims of Crime Act funding. We had a 10% decrease, which amounted to a loss of over $100,000 in staff salaries and budgets. Benefits. As a result, we reorganized our staff so that services to clients would not be interrupted. Earlier this year, the Attorney General office advised us that we'd probably have an 18% cut, in addition to last year's 10% cut. And if they had done that, we would have experienced almost a 40% decrease in the last 3 years. But thankfully, Attorney General Wilson requested funding from the legislature so that we would not have to experience that 18% cut. However, we still have that 10% cut that we had last year. So it's, we're not at the point now that we're gonna be funded as we have in the past, but we are stable. And I say that because Safe Passage turns 30 years old this year, which is amazing. 30 years ago, we started out solely as a domestic violence program. 17 years ago, we changed it to a sexual assault program. And then 8 years ago, we created the Child Advocacy Center. So we are continuing to progress. We're continuing to provide trauma-informed services to victims of all races, all communities in our service area, all ages. We have Last year, if I'm not mistaken, we had an 85-year-old who had been hospitalized due to domestic violence. 85. Our youngest victim in terms of abuse has been 3. So we see a wide range. It's not just someone that we don't know. It's people we know, your neighbors, family members. Someone has been impacted by some form of violence in our community. Unfortunately, these trends will continue, but with the community help, with your generosity, with working with our community partners like law enforcement, et cetera, we can make a difference. We have had people come back to us and tell us the impact that we've made in their lives, not only as adults, but for some of the children, when we provide clinical services to them. So I just want to encourage you all and to thank you for last year, and to say that we continue to need your help. This community needs your help. Government can't do it alone. Nonprofits can't do it alone. It takes the entire community for all of these services. It takes the community. So funding Safe Passage means that victims are receiving services in our community. They don't have to go to Charlotte. We're a hidden gem. York County is a hidden gem. And of course, we're expanding, so it makes life a little more difficult in terms of certain things that people will have to experience. Funding Safe Passage means that we can help the most vulnerable in our communities. Funding Safe Passage means you are making our community, our city, and our state safer. It means that we can really empower the survivor, eliminate the abuse, engender the change, and engage our community. Thank you. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Any questions?
I just have a comment. First of all, I was in a situation where I know somebody was in need of some support. I had referred them over to y'all, and you guys handle them incredibly well. So just want to thank you. It was excellent.
Thank you.
I just have a clarifying question. When you mentioned all those numbers that y'all served last year, when you mentioned all those numbers that y'all served last year and your service area,
Yes.
what is the entire service area?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank
Is
you.
it just
Good
York
question.
County or?
York County, our domestic violence service area includes York, Chester, and Lancaster counties. Our sexual assault is just Union and York County, and the child abuse is solely York County.
Okay.
So our CAC, the number of forensic interviews that we had, 353, are the ones that we conducted. Occasionally law enforcement, federal law enforcement, such as the FBI will ask us to use our facilities, and will occasionally ask to use our forensic interviewers because they are top notch.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Any others?
Excellent.
Thank you, Adrian. As someone
you.
who was personally exposed to domestic violence at a young age, I know how important it is to have the resources available. And I would like to ask you offline if there are any smaller capital needs that you think that are needed, especially to help the children. We have discretionary budget items, but would want to know a little bit more about if you have some specific needs that might meet.
If I may, the Child Advocacy Center, the number of forensic interviews have exploded. We started tracking, and it's like a 40% increase of the number of children who've been referred to us for those forensic interviews. We need additional staff. I have requested from different grants and things of that nature, we need additional staff. Clinicians who are trained in trauma-focused therapy. A lot of clinicians do not want to touch a child who has been sexually abused or physically abused. They don't want to do it. And some of it is just because it is a unique skill set to be able to work with children who have experienced some of the worst things that anyone can experience. So services for children, increasing staff, increasing knowledge, being able to provide parents or caregivers with support. We do a lot of that. If they need groceries, we will help them with that. So we provide a wide range. So I think we can put any money, any discretionary funds to a good use, but especially for our children.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak before we close the public hearing? Now is your time.
Move to close.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close public hearing. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes and public hearing is closed. Do we have anything for executive session?
Nothing that I'm aware of.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned.